All right, everybody, welcome to Sports Talk Uncut. This is our DFS show. As always, I am Dan Siegel along with Anthony Cervino. Anthony is the cool kid today. He gets the little lower third on the bottom that shows you who he is and the cute picture. But anyway, so our DFS show today is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. It's a new app that plans on going live here in the upcoming weeks. They are our new sponsor, and we'll be going through some of their DFS contests today. So, Anthony, let's discuss how you and I took a beat down last night in the basketball DFS. It was a NBA versus last night, basically on Thrive. You have to pick ultimately 12 selections. 10 are your primary and 2 are your backups in case somebody gets hurt and they have to cancel it out. And so they give you 2 players, somebody, for instance, one of the let's bring it up here. One of the options last night was Donovan Mitchell versus Dwight Howard, points and rebounds for the 2, and Donovan Mitchell was spotted 4.5. That was one of the options last night. So, as I was saying, for the contest last night, it was a $2 entry. The top 10 got payouts, with the winner ultimately getting $30. So not a bad payoff. And although I was running pretty good in NBA, Anthony, you were doing somewhat well, but last night neither of us came remotely close to the top 10 payout.
No, and I have to go back and look at my history, but I usually struggle in this format because there is a second format that Thrive uses, this head-to-head one. I've imploded at. I picked up 2 first-place victories and a second place in Thrive since we've been testing the beta.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've ended up in I think I've been paid out 6 or 7 times since we've started. So we're usually pretty good on this. So when we get to the football portion of this, you should pay attention. We're showing you the error of our ways here with going back to the basketball last night. But anyway, so it was, like I said, top 20 or top 10 payout. 37 people entered the contest. I finished 21st, and Anthony, you finished 25th. So we were fairly similar in our bad ways. But so just going through the picks from last night, like I said, Mitchell versus Howard, points, rebounds. That one I was pretty confident on because Mitchell will outscore Howard, and Howard is pretty consistent on a rebound basis. So, but the thing that bothered me last night in the ones that I lost were I didn't lose by much. Like, I don't know what you took, but I took Butler versus Porzingis in points. Butler was getting 1.5. It ended up 17 against 14.5. So again, didn't lose by much.
Yeah, I lost that one as well.
Yeah.
I took
and then I took
end.
Yeah, I took Tariq Evans versus Jamal Murray in rebounds and assists. Murray was getting 2.5, and the 2.5 was the difference. Murray ends up with 9.5. Evans ends up with 7. So it was a bad way. I mean, I did pretty well. I had Chandler rebounds over Chris Paul assists. Wiggins in points and rebounds over Jeff Teague. Durant in points over Giannis.
And these are your winners?
Yeah, those were my winners. Bledsoe blocking steals against Draymond. I won. Yeah, everything else I lost.
Yeah, I won the LeBron James over Oladipo. Oladipo was getting 2.5 points. LeBron 27. Oladipo got 21.5. I also won the Bradley Beal over Aaron Gordon. Gordon was getting 3.5, and Beal almost doubled him up, ending up at 30 live points, 17.5. I won Spencer Dinwiddie over Dennis Schroeder. Barely. It was a half a point. He was getting a half a point with the assist category.
Yeah, I think
Bledsoe over Draymond.
that Dinwiddie Schroeder was one of my backups. I remember that one.
Yeah, Dinwiddie's not playing too bad this season.
No, Dinwiddie, if you're doing DFS where you have to, the more standard one where you have to create a lineup and you're at a spot where you're looking to save some money, Dinwiddie in most places is well below the top tier guys, and he's been one of the better fantasy players, even in daily formats. So no problem using him. Like I said, that was against Schroeder, it was tight. That's why I went with a backup instead of using it as a primary.
Did you take the Cantor? That's one I took. The Karl Anthony Towns versus
No, I didn't.
Ennis Cantor, and Towns won that. Just squeaked by too.
No, I did not take that.
Cantor was plus 7.5. He ended up with 35.5, and Towns ended up with 38.
No, you know what? That might have been my other backup. I think the backups probably should have went to the primary last night. Might have helped me out.
Yeah, the ones I lost pretty bad though. The John Wall and Elfrid Payton. The big one was what you were talking about before. I actually had Dwight Howard, and Donovan Mitchell blew him out in production.
Oh yeah, that was one of my easier ones last night. That one I didn't struggle with. I took Nurkic getting 3.5 rebounds against Cousins. That didn't end well. Cousins blew him out 19 to 8.5.
Before you go on, what's going on with DeMarcus Cousins? He was terrible last season compared to his upside.
Well,
he was like he's found his way a little bit.
Well, he was in Sacramento for the first half of the year, which he, it's Sacramento. And then when he got traded to the Pelicans, it's too big in a league which isn't big men oriented anymore. You have two big men in him and Anthony Davis trying to learn how to play together, because while Davis is probably the more pure scorer, I guess is the way I'll go as compared to Cousins, their game is still pretty similar. So they had to learn how to get out of each other's way when they were on the court together. So, half a season, off season, they're blending together a little better now. Let's see, what else did I lose last night? I took Middleton over Klay Thompson. That probably wasn't a smart move.
So did I.
Yeah, that didn't work out. Let's see, I already talked about Butler and Porzingis.
Yep, I had that one too.
Evans and Murray. Yeah. So
Sabonis. I lost to Kevin Love and Sabonis. I had Kevin Love, obviously.
Sabonis is sneaky. I like Sabonis. He's another guy. He's not going to score you a whole lot, but he's good on the boards.
Yeah, he was a key part of that Paul George deal, no?
Yes, which is working out pretty well for Indiana. Oladipo having a career year, Sabonis coming into his own, and Paul George struggling to find his way out in OKC. So, all right, let's dive into it. Is divisional weekend in the NFL. 4 games, obviously. Patriots, Titans, Jags, Steelers, Falcons, Eagles, and Vikings, Saints. So Thrive this weekend is rolling out 2 different types of contests. They've got the traditional one where basically they give you a player, they give you whatever the prop is. Like, for instance, they've got Matt Ryan here at 255.5 total passing yards. You got to pick over or under. That's basically it. The buy-in here is $20, and if you land first place, it gets you a cool $600. The other one is a touchdown-only one. Again, pretty simple. They give you a player. You say, are they going to score or are they not going to score? Again, here, buy-in is $10, and first place lands you $200. So where do you want to go first? You want to go touchdowns or you want to go traditional? Which one do you prefer?
Let's do the traditional first.
Okay. So all right. So instead of running through all the options that we have here, me and Anthony, we don't know what we've picked yet. Okay. I've picked mine. Anthony has picked his. Okay. And we will just give you our picks here for the traditional. Okay. So Anthony, I'll let you go through yours. And then if we happen to hit on the same one, I'll chime in.
Okay. Let me just pull that up. Thought I had it pulled up. It's a new contest. Upcoming traditional. Okay. I took Matt Ryan under 255.5 yards, passing yards today.
We are on the opposite side of Matt Ryan.
What's your reasoning?
I think that the Eagles, in the early part of this game, the Eagles are going to be amped up at the beginning of this game. All they've talked about all week is how they're disrespected because they're the first number 1 seed in the Super Bowl era to be an underdog. So I think at the beginning of the game, they're going to be pumped up, and they're actually going to do a decent job of shutting down the Falcons' run game. So I think Ryan is actually going to have to throw the ball, whether it just be dump offs to Freeman and Coleman, or just to loosen up that run game. So I think I'm not saying he's going to go for 350 here, but I'd like him a smidge over 255.5.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ryan's career in Philadelphia. And he historically has struggled because that's around his hometown back in Philadelphia. And 277, he's never gone over 298 yards and that against Philadelphia. And that was at home. That was a home game.
I'll say I don't need him to go over 3. I just need him to go over 255.5.
255.5. So, yeah, I mean, you have history on your side. I will say that. But I think in this atmosphere, I think Ryan struggles. I still think the Falcons pick up the win. I just think he's going to go under 250 yards in the process.
I'll put it this way. Do you like the Ram defense better than the Eagle defense?
It's a toss-up.
All right, but you'll say they're similar, correct?
Very similar defenses, yeah.
Matt Ryan carved up the Ram defense last weekend.
Yeah, I just don't see him putting up back-to-back days just because I don't trust Matt Ryan.
Well, I don't trust the Falcons in general, but on this case, I'll take it. All right, let's move on. All right, so we're on opposite sides of Matt Ryan. Move on. What you got next?
Devonta Freeman, under 67.5 total yards. I think Philly shuts Freeman down.
I did not touch that one, but I tend to agree with you.
Julio Jones, over 6.5 receptions. I see this as a big Julio Jones game.
I'll say you and me are on the same page with Julio.
And then I got Nick Foles, over 2.5 touchdowns and interceptions combined.
Oh, okay, interceptions combined. I was going to say 2.5 touchdowns. What? I did not touch the man known as Napoleon Dynamite. I did not touch him.
I can see throwing for 2 and throwing for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, actually. And here's a player I think is going to have a huge game as a result of Nick Foles being in there. That's Zach Ertz, over 62.5 receiving yards. I believe that's a lock. If there is a lock, that's a lock.
I was I didn't. The only 2 players I touched in this game are Ryan and Julio, who we went through. So you're heavy on the Falcon Eagle game here.
Yeah, well, I'm heavy on certain players, and like I said, Ertz is going to perform. He's a top 3 tight end in the NFL right now. From a fantasy perspective, he's a top tight end. With or without Wentz, whether it's Foles, and I like Foles just because the safety blanket for the quarterback is the tight end, is the passing down back. I could see for other DFS purposes, you want to go talk about salary DFS, you need a value player. Corey Clement in a PPR format DFS, he could have a big game and he'll be cheap.
Let me play devil's advocate with you for a second, because I thought about Ertz. And Ertz is about as safe as you can be. But let's play devil's advocate for a second, okay? Nick Foles is your quarterback. It's not Wentz, obviously.
Okay.
Is there any concern the Falcons' defense tries to? I mean, because you look right, and you've got Jeffrey and Algalore obviously on the outside, okay? But would you not be better off as a Falcon defense to say, let me take away Zach Ertz and make Foles try and throw to his receivers down the field?
I think that's the way they go. I just prefer the matchup. I think Ertz wins the matchup over whoever.
So you say,
yeah.
So you're saying, okay. So you're saying it don't matter if they try and take him away. No. Ertz has that. All right.
He's that caliber. He's a Kelsey. He's a Gronk.
Okay. All right. You got anything else for this game, or is that it?
For this game, that's it.
Okay. I was like, because you went heavy on Falcons Eagles. All right. What else you got?
Moving on to the New England Tennessee Titans game. Derrick Henry, 72.5 total yards. I'm going to go over there.
Okay. Now, we talked about reserves. They're called ice picks. Okay. I have Derrick Henry as my number one ice pick. I went under.
So you, even without DeMarco Murray?
Even without DeMarco Murray, I go under because I think New England is gonna. They saw what happened last week, okay? Because Henry kind of took over in that second half war there. They're gonna take Henry out early and say to Mariota, if you're gonna win this game, it's on you. Derrick Henry's not gonna be a factor.
Yeah. You don't see any upside, and we were speaking off air about this game. I think there is a slight chance Tennessee can win it. I'm still picking New England, and I'm still picking New England big. But would it shock me if the Tennessee Titans went into Foxborough and pulled out an upset? No. This is the first.
I think the late signing of James Harrison is going to be a huge difference maker in this game.
You think Harrison makes an impact here?
Yes, because if you look at how Henry kind of took over in that second half, Kansas City couldn't set the edge. So all of a sudden, Henry had these holes that look like highways to run in. James Harrison isn't going to let them do that. Henry's not going to have these craters to run through.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're putting too much stock into James Harrison. I think he's going to be a situational pass rusher. I don't even think he's going to be out there on rundowns.
All right, we differ on Henry. Move on.
Tom Brady, 285.5 passing yards. I'm going to go over there. I think Tom Brady hit somewhere in the low 300s this game.
We're on the same page.
Dion Lewis, in the wake of the reports this morning from Adam Schefter, Rex Burkhead and Mike Gillislee are not expected to play. James White is expected to play, but White is just a PPR guy. He's the primary receiver out of the backfield. I think this is a heavy, heavy workload for Dion Lewis, and I think he's going to go over the half a touchdown.
I took Lewis early in the week, even before this report came out. So this only solidifies that pick.
Right. He's almost a lock to score.
Yeah.
What about Gronkowski? 5.5 total receptions. That's over.
Oh yeah, I took the over.
Oh yeah. I don't think that's close.
Gronk's gonna be heavy.
Now that's all I have from this game. Do you have anything? I don't have.
No. Those are the three. We're in agreement on this game. I took Brady, Lewis, and Gronk all with the overs, so we're on the same page there.
And
I was gonna say you're running out. I was saying you don't have many left in the 10.
I have obviously this is I don't know if you've seen the reports. Antonio Brown dealing with the calf. He's going to be a game time decision. I'm going to expect him to play, but the fact that this is even an issue that they're saying this is going to be a game time call against Jalen Ramsey, I just don't see it. I'm going under 102.5 receiving yards for Antonio Brown.
We're on the same page. He's coming off the calf, like you said, against Ramsey. Plus, he had what they're calling an intestinal issue yesterday.
Okay.
Even though he went through walkthrough today, that's why he wasn't even seen at practice yesterday. He had an intestinal issue. So, okay, it's going to be cold. Okay, you have a calf injury. It's going to be freezing in Pittsburgh. I say nothing about this screams big day for Antonio Brown. I mean, if anybody could do it, it's AB, but right. Nothing about this screams that it's going to happen. So we're on the same page.
And that's all I have. There's my 10. Okay. Do you want to go finish out your 10?
Yeah, all right.
Before we go to ice picks?
I was going to say, we already went through the Eagle game and the Patriot game. Okay, I went kind of heavy on this game. Okay, I took your boy Bortles and the over on picks. All he has to do is throw one. Okay, and
I like that.
I was going to say, he certainly gave plenty of opportunities last week. So I think Pittsburgh can come up with at least one. Big Ben, 23.5 total completions. Again, I'm taking the over. I know Jacksonville has a great defense, but Ben's going to have to throw the ball around. Le'Veon Bell's going to get a lot of use in the passing game as well. I'll take the over there.
Before you go on, I just wanted to say to everybody listening that ownership percentage does matter in prop DFS too. So you do want to throw in some of these oddball picks. But no, go
on. And piggybacking off on what I just said about Le'Veon Bell and a big work day, I'm taking the over on combined rushing and receiving yards at 120.5.
See, that was a tough one for me. That was a very, very tough one. Bell struck in his only 2 games against the Jaguars.
Here's the biggest concern.
I don't even think he's totaled that amount.
Here's the biggest concern I have with Le'Veon Bell. Okay, if he makes it through the game, then I think he'll go over. But here's the trend: the last 3 years, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2015 wild card game, I believe it was, did not play. 2016 divisional round game, did not play. Last year, left. He's a no-show in the playoffs.
Let me tell you something. You have controversy in New England with the reports from last week that was coming out with Brady, Kraft, and Belichick and all that with the Garoppolo stuff.
And then you just got looking ahead in Pittsburgh.
I mean, Le'Veon Bell is thinking about next season. He's thinking about holding out next season. You have a divisional round playoff game. This could be his last shot because remember this, he's a free agent. Ben Roethlisberger might retire. I mean, what's going to be left of the killer bees? Martavis Bryant, certainly, I highly doubt he's not coming back. I'm almost certain Martavis Bryant's moving on. So the Steelers, what's going to be left of the killer bees is going to be Antonio Brown. That's realistic. This could be their last shot, and Le'Veon Bell is thinking about next season. I think that they're walking into a buzzsaw with Jacksonville.
All right, and then to round out my 10, I took Michael Thomas, the under on 6.5 receptions.
See, that's tough because he's likely going to draw Xavier Rhodes, but Minnesota's pass defense, they'll give up receptions, they'll give up a little bit of yards, and they come strong in the red zone. So this could be it could be in either way. I didn't touch that. That's like Le'Veon Bell.
I'm looking at a bigger day from the likes of Ingram and Kamara coming off of last week.
Right? I'm toying with that too, is because these guys weren't shut down for the better part of the duration of the season. And they're coming off of a game where they combined, I think, 68 or 67 total yards and a touchdown.
And here's the biggest issue that you've got coming into this game, okay? These two teams played week one. Week one. Remember, Alvin Kamara wasn't thought about in week one. Adrian Peterson was still a state then.
Adrian Peterson, I believe, led the Saints in rushing against his former team with peanuts. And you're completely right. Go on. I'm just going to say both of these teams are different.
Yeah, Sam Bradford was quarterback in the Vikings. I'll say, so you've got nothing. You have nothing to go on going into this game. Normally, you see playoff teams, from the same division, and you're like, you can look back at the regular season. You've got nothing to go off of. That's why I literally only played. I've got Michael Thomas in the 10, and then my other ice pick is from this game. But I'm afraid to touch anything in this game because we literally are just guessing. Yeah. So, all right. So I already said that the Derrick Henry play that you have in your top 10 is my ice pick. My other ice pick, like I said, is from this Viking game. And I went with Drew Brees, and I took the over at 280.5 passing yards.
Okay, now, that yard. See, that doesn't make sense. You're taking Brees in the over, but you think Michael Thomas gets
because I don't think Thomas is going to be the focal point of this.
So you think it's going to be the running backs?
I think Kamara is going to have to be the X factor in this. If they're going to have the game that they need to have, and they're gonna put up points, it's going to be via Kamara. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to be the guy. Okay, it's going to be the type of thing where Kamara is your big lead, and then maybe you get something over the top to Ted Ginn like last week. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to be the go-to.
Right. No, I can see that. It's just tough to see all those yards and not Michael Thomas's name being involved. I'll tell you who I do like. Just branching off to another DFS format. Josh Hill, the tight end for the Saints. He scored last week. He's the best tight end on that roster. Coby Fleener's an afterthought. He could be a sleeper going into next season if the Saints don't bring another tight end. But yeah, Josh Hill, I can see him getting a touchdown today.
All right. So what are your two backups?
My two ice picks: Case Keenum, 2.5 touchdown and interception combined. I like the over there. And Ben Roethlisberger over 23.5 completions.
Okay, so you're on the Big Ben thing with me.
Absolutely, I am. I think Jacksonville, this is going to be a game where I think Jacksonville's defense is going to come up strong. They're going to get a lead and force Ben Roethlisberger to throw the football. All
right. Let's switch over to the touchdown only one. Like I said, $10 buy-in, first place gets you $200. I was gonna say I'll run through mine here, and then you can see if I hit on any of yours. Okay, so we talked about it in the traditional already. I would assume you and me are on the same page with this one. In the Eagle game, Julio Jones finds the end zone.
Yes.
Okay. Sticking with that game, Jay Ajayi does not find the end zone. And that is rushing or receiving for Ajayi.
Okay, I didn't touch that.
All right. Again, we talked about these in the traditional. I took the under on Derrick Henry. I'm sure you probably went the other way with that.
Yeah, I went over.
Yeah, you and me are probably on the same page here with Gronk.
Over?
Yes, over. And despite the news coming out that James White is going to play and Burkhead and Gillislee are out, I'm still taking the under on James White.
Yeah, I'm not. That's actually a really smart play, but I'm kind of thinking that a lot of people are going there, so I didn't touch that just for, parody.
Okay. Here's one I know you'll love. Leonard Fournette. Under.
I'm going over. I went over there.
All right. Again, a couple that we talked about in the traditional. Le'Veon Bell, I took the over. And Antonio Brown, I took the under.
Me too. Same on both.
Michael Thomas, we just went through this. I took the under on him scoring, and I went over on Adam Thielen.
I went over as well on Thielen.
Okay, so sounds like we have a lot of the same ones here.
Yeah, let me fill in the blanks here. While you went James White, I went Tevin Coleman in the under.
Okay.
I went Devonta Freeman in the under. Julio Jones over. I went Alshon Jeffrey in the under. And the last one we differed on was Jerick McKinnon. I went over. That's big points, too. If he scores 135 points, that's what that's worth on Thrive. And Thielen was an ice pick of mine. I went over. And Brandon Cooks, under.
I was going to say, ice. One of my ice picks, something that neither of us touched, I took the over on Delaney Walker. If Tennessee's going to score, it's probably going to be Walker. So, and you and me differed on Jeffrey. My other ice pick was I took the over on Alshon.
So you think he gets in?
I think that if Foles can find a way to get to the end zone, he's going to throw to Alshon.
Yeah, to me, it's more of an
and the payoff for an over is 130 points. I mean, it's not in my top 10. It's an ice pick, but if it had to go in, I'll roll the dice for 130.
And just for everybody out there who's never seen what Thrive looks like, here's a little glimpse of what the contest room looks like.
I would say if you're watching us.
Let me just get it up there, yeah.
I would say that's good enough. You can see it.
I was
going to say, go ahead, click on one so we can see it. And basically what, as Anthony brings that up, let me explain it to you. As we're bringing up points. Basically, all your picks are worth a certain amount of points. Like me and Anthony both took the over on Julio Jones for the touchdown. That's worth 115 points. Me and Anthony both have. There you go. You can see it right there. And you can see the point difference. Obviously, if you roll the dice on something, it's worth a little more than if you're going with something that's favored. But basically, so all your picks accumulate a certain, whatever your points are. Okay, so if you got 4 out of 10 right, and all 4 were worth 100 points each, and obviously you got 400 points, and that'll go up against everybody else that is in the contest, and then obviously your point total will depend on where you fall out. Pretty status quo as far as figuring that end out. But what did we learn? We learned that Anthony in DFS this weekend is all in on anything Eagles Falcons.
I just think it's going to be the ownership. I'm taking, like I said, consider of the ownership. I think people are going to be staying away from the game, and I kind of want to go a little bit heavier on games like that, especially in DFS formats.
I feel in that game, I feel more confident with what I know on the Falcons side of the ball than I do with what I know on the Eagles side of the ball.
Yeah, and my decisions were made based off of that, but it's just I like the players like Ertz. I like a guy like Jeffrey to kind of lay an egg because I don't know if Foles is going to get him the ball. And on the Falcons end, the player I like is Julio Jones. I think he has a big day. And while Matt Ryan has a mediocre day, Julio can still have a big day. Big day.
All right, so real quickly here before we wrap up on our Thrive Fantasy Show here on Sports Talk Uncut. Not that this has anything to do with DFS, but we'll do it anyway. Picks for the weekend. Eagles, Falcons. We're both Falcons.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Eagles have a shot. I'm not giving them a shot. This Falcons defense is playing too well, and Foles is coming into this game ice cold. He had that huge game against the Giants and disappeared for the next 5 or 6 quarters. And a week off. The recipe for disaster, really.
Just remember, Nick Foles, 1 career playoff start, and it did not go well.
That was with the Eagles too, right?
It was with the Eagles, but it did not go well. Right. Saints and Vikings. Case Keenum also making his second career playoff start.
This was tough. This was.
Or wait, no, I lied. Case Keenum is making his first career playoff first.
Regardless, this is a tough game. And this was the toughest one for me to pick. I think the winner of this game goes to the conference finals and ultimately the Super Bowl for the NFC. And I like New Orleans Saints. I trust Drew Brees more than I trust Case Keenum right now. And that is not me discrediting Case Keenum. God help the Vikings if they let this kid go. I believe he is a premier starting quarterback. I'm not sure if he'll be ever top 5, but he could be like another, I don't know, like a Matt Stafford type of quarterback, Keenum. I really think this kid has a lot of upside and a lot of talent. But yeah, I'm all over the Saints here.
The road to Minnesota being the first team to ever host the Super Bowl at their home field will end at their home field. You and me are in agreement yet again.
Oh, yeah.
You and me are in agreement, Patriots over Titans, although you see more a slim chance for the Titans where I see no chance.
Yeah, slim chance, but yeah, Patriots going to take care of business.
And here is our biggest disagreement. Anthony, who if you ever listen to our show, know that he rides the Jaguars to the depths of
why not
everything.
Am I wrong? Was I wrong this season?
No, you were not wrong. Oh. Okay, but here's the difference. Blake Bortles going to rush for more yards than he passes?
If that's what it takes to win, who cares?
Okay, so
Blake Bortles was not making those plays that he made last week when he locked that fourth quarter. And he ran for that first down, and it kept the clock going. Blake Bortles was not making that play 2 years ago or last season. This is a different quarterback. He's a little bit more disciplined. He's still throwing those interceptions, but he's thrown a career-low interceptions this season, career low. Tom Coughlin, your boy, Tom Coughlin, has made that big of an impact on the Jaguars.
Can we be honest here? Can we make an honest assessment? If Buffalo had any sort of defense, they would have had 4 interceptions last week.
Buffalo had no business being in the playoffs. Sorry, Buffalo fans. You guys had no business being there.
No, we're not arguing the fact that Buffalo shouldn't have been there, but my fact is that Buffalo should have had a bounty of turnovers last week, courtesy of your boy Blake Bortles, and they just are so awful that they couldn't catch anything.
If the ball bounced another direction, we wouldn't have the Patriots dynasty.
Well,
so I mean,
that's why John Gruden just got another 10 years. They're still arguing that.
But this isn't going to be about Blake Bortles. This is going to be about Fournette. Fournette went off in Week 5. I don't know if he goes off for another 182, but I think he has a big enough game to keep Ben Roethlisberger on the sidelines. It's eliminate Antonio Brown. That's trouble.
Hey,
that's trouble.
The same thing I said about Antonio Brown, how it's cold and the calf injury and all that. Let's remember Leonard Fournette is exactly Mr. Durability. Let's hope he can survive all 4 quarters as well.
Then you got to deal with TJ Yeldon and Chris Ivory, and I say that with a straight face because they were productive when Fournette was out earlier in the year.
Here's what I'm going to say. Whereas, we talked about Saints Vikings and how they played in Week 1, and we have nothing to go off of here for this one. We have a little bit more of a recent situation with Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. They played Week 5, I think it was. That was obviously the Big Ben 5 interception game. Afterwards, he's talking about, retirement and yada, yada, yada. Since then, Pittsburgh's won 10 of 11. Okay, and I get that AB is banged up, but of the 5 interceptions, 2 were pick sixes. Okay, and take the turnovers away. And I know Fournette had a big day, but the Jacksonville offense didn't exactly run up the scoreboard either. Okay, I can't go into this game assuming Ben is going to have another 5 interception day.
Now, and I just wrote over at Gridiron Experts. I'm a head writer over there. If you guys don't know, I also do a podcast, Fantasy Face Off. I just did my Jacksonville and Pittsburgh blurbs yesterday about what I thought of the game, and I looked at the history. Now, the last time before Week 5 that Pittsburgh and Jacksonville played was in 2014. Now, you're saying, okay, that's a few years ago. How much of the team is still together? Well, the Killer Bees were all there the last time these two played. Roethlisberger, his last game, we know 312 yards, 0 touchdowns, 5 picks. Roethlisberger, 2014, 273 yards and a touchdown, no picks, right? Le'Veon Bell, 47 yards rushing in Week 5, 82 yards rushing in 2014. Last, Week 5, 10 receptions, 46 yards. 2014, 536. No touchdown. Ready?
Here's the thing.
Brown, no touchdown. So the Killer Bees have a combined 1 touchdown in their last 2 matchups.
Here's the thing. You want to throw history at me. All the history is on your side. I can give you everything. Jacksonville, the only team in NFL history to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh twice in the same year. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, Ben Roethlisberger, losing record to only 2 NFL teams, one of them, Jacksonville. Okay, I can give you all these things that bode well for your argument. Here's my argument. Do I trust the guy with 2 Super Bowl rings and a Hall of Fame career, or the guy who is barely a competent quarterback?
Okay, but let's turn it around a little bit. Okay. Do you trust the guy who's barely a competent quarterback's team? Or do you trust the guy with 2 Super Bowl rings team who you got a gimped up wide receiver, you got a running back who's thinking about retiring next season if he doesn't get a cut? I mean,
let's be honest.
Come on.
Let's be honest, okay? Even with the gimped up wide receiver, if we're just looking...
And I made these picks not even knowing what you just said about Ben Roethlisberger, losing record at home. I didn't even know that. Now I'm about to throw some money in on the book.
If we're looking from a pure talent perspective, there's still more talent on the Pittsburgh end.
Okay, so Le'Veon Bell, like you said, he gets hurt all the time. He's not in a playoff game.
Listen,
who's it? Fitzgerald Toussaint, Stephen Ridley. That's who's behind. That's your depth behind Le'Veon Bell.
Oh yeah, that's right. James Conner got hurt. I forgot about him.
And
no more James Conner.
Okay, so let's say Antonio Brown, he's active, he's a decoy. Okay, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. This kid's going to be a stud, but I'm going to trust A.J. Boye or Jalen Ramsey. And then you have Martavis Bryant, who, why should you trust him? Eli Rogers. You have 2 tight ends, Jesse James and Vance McDonald, where they're good for maybe a couple red zone targets. I trust the team around Blake Bortles more than I trust the team around Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay, here, let's just cut through everything here. And this is probably the easiest way that we can put this to you. Okay, whether you're watching, you're betting, you're just playing DFS, whatever you're doing this weekend, okay? The Eagle-Falcon game and the Patriot-Titan game, you're watching with the idea that you know who's going to win, but there's that slither of a chance maybe it goes the other way. The Viking-Saints game and the Steeler-Jaguar game, those are the games. Those 2 games are the games to watch this weekend because those are the 2 where literally you can make an argument either way. You and me are sitting here arguing Jags and Steelers, and I probably made a better argument in your favor than I did my own by giving you all that. But nevertheless, okay, those are the coin flip games, plain and simple. Nevertheless, again, we're here, Sports Talk Uncut, our DFS show, sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. You can check them out online at www.thrivefantasy.com. The app is also in the App Store for all your daily DFS needs, and they will be going live here in the next week or two, I think it is. So I was going to say, get on that now before you can't.
Yeah, follow their Twitter handle is @ThriveFantasy. Give them a follow. If you want to try out the beta, I'm sure if you reach out by a DM to Thrive, I'm sure he'll let you try out the beta. I mean,
okay. And so, here's the thing. If you get in now here before they go live, if you can get in on the beta here in the last week or two, and you start playing these contests, they'll do contests where if you win, they give you money when you go live.
Yep.
So when they go live, depending on how you do, all of a sudden, you could end up with $20, $30 in your account before we even start.
Like I do.
Let's go. All right, show off. Okay, it's not my fault I'm winning the ones that the money's not attached to. Okay, let's calm down.
That was me on Sunday. That basketball. There was like 14 of us in the slate, and I came in first. And I don't think there was anything attached to it. But
yeah, every basketball one I win, there's nothing attached to. We need it. We should. I'm going to talk to Thrive about that. We need to change that. Okay, start attaching money to the ones I'm doing good in.
But yeah, guys, if you haven't tried prop DFS, it's the way to go. I think it's the next big way to DFS. I think it's the only one, right? And Adam Weinstein said this on the Face Off when he was on. This is the only type of DFS that can be played like the Super Bowl. There's one game, but you can still do prop DFS.
And here's the thing. Think about this too. Okay, most people when they're playing DFS, you either have to do the traditional set the line up, with the salary, or there's other ones now where basically they're giving you a player and you've got to figure out their stat line. Okay. The big thing in Vegas come Super Bowl weekend is props.
Right.
Okay? People spend more money on the props than they do the actual game.
Right.
Okay? And you know how I know this? Because I was in Vegas for a Super Bowl and I put more money on the prop bets than I did the game. Okay? And here's the thing. Prop bets are clear and cut. Make a decision. Here's your guy. Here's your number. Over, under. Okay? It's very simple. Like Anthony has shown you as we've done this, and I have explained. Okay? And even in Thrive, okay, and when you're in the app, if you click on the player's name, they give you their last 5 games. So checking guys' trends to see how they're doing and what they kind of average is basically right there for you. It's not very difficult to figure out. So if you're looking for something simplistic, not for a ton of money, and to try and put some money in your pocket, I don't know what else we can do more than say just get on Thrive now. I don't see an easier path for you.
Right, and it's not, I don't think this is one of those games that these fantasy sharks that you see on these other, on the auction DFS sites. You have all these sharks going in and eating up all these contests. You come here, like Dan said, it is cut and dry. Anybody can do this, and anybody can win. Like, I'm not a basketball guy. I'm a year-round football guy. And I know basketball. I've taken an enjoyment in fantasy basketball. I'm enjoying watching the sport, but I don't know. I have no business coming in first place in these contests, but I am because it's very easy to pick up, and I think that's what they're going for. They want to draw in the average fan.
And here's the other thing too. I was talking about how you can click and you can see the trends.
Right.
Okay. If you're sitting at home and you're listening or you're watching us on YouTube or wherever, right, and you're like, and you're sitting here and you're hearing me talk about trends and you're like, I'm not a numbers guy. You don't have to be a numbers guy to do this, okay? Look at the last few games, okay? For instance, we were talking about the basketball one that we did last night, okay? And we both, we both talked about the Donovan Mitchell, Dwight Howard matchup. Okay, if you looked at Dwight Howard over the last 5 games, he was averaging in the low teens, rebound-wise. Okay? And then he usually averages somewhere in the low to mid-teen point-wise. So overall, he's ending on a points and rebound average. He's ending up somewhere in the mid to high 20s. So when I'm taking Donovan Mitchell in that points versus rebounds, first of all, I'm already getting spotted, whatever it was, 4.5, I think. Okay? Plus, so I'm getting spotted 4.5. So basically all I'm looking for is Donovan Mitchell to go somewhere like in the 20s with points and then just get a few rebounds, and I'm going to go over to Dwight Howard. It's not that difficult to figure out. It's just some common math. You don't have to be a numbers guy to do this.
Definitely not. And I'm definitely not a numbers guy.
I would say you don't have to be Anthony at his computer crunching numbers all week.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even that much of a numbers guy.
No, but again, ThriveFantasy.com in the App Store. Thrive Fantasy, look it up. You can download
geometry
the app.
as a senior.
Yeah, geometry wasn't my strong suit either. Common math, people. Adding, subtracting, few average, maybe some division. That's it. We don't have to go anything there. I was going to say. The decimal point does not scare you here. We'll put it that way. But, yeah, ThriveFantasy.com in the App Store, Thrive Fantasy. Like Anthony said, follow them on Twitter. Get in on the beta now. Get in on the contest. You can get some free money here before we go live. So that's it for us this week. Sports Talk Uncut, as always, for Anthony Cervino. I'm Dan Siegel, and we'll catch you next week.
Have a good weekend.